What if the fastest way to healing is to get on the side, to be the best friend, to honour the part of ourselves that we don't like? What if we turn towards the part that we may reject, dislike, judge, want to change, want to get rid of? What if we did the opposite of trying to get rid of it? That is the key to healing. And again, those words, what we resist persists. So all the time we're trying to get rid of something within ourselves, we're actually holding on to it really, really tightly. We're saying, I really, really don't want this thing. Really, really don't want it. And so when we turn towards it, and if we can turn towards it with curiosity, with love, with kindness, compassion, or with no agenda, if we can just turn towards it, then we create space to actually get to know it, instead of just this, all we know is this reaction to it, this I don't want it, like the turn away, the not look at it, slam the door in its face, and knowing that so many of these parts are actually, so many of these beliefs are actually really formed often when we're very young, sometimes ancestral, sometimes cultural. And if we were to somehow see it like that, oh, hang on, this is the younger me. Or maybe this is something that's in my ancestral lineage and it's been here for so long. And there's a really, really good reason it's here. It's intelligent. It actually helped me survive, or it helped my ancestors survive and get me here. Or as a child, it helped me keep connection with my mum or my dad. It helped me attach. Because all of these parts that we say we don't like in ourselves nearly always have a coherent, functional, reason to be there, and they are often very intelligent. But then as we get older, maybe they no longer function because our life's changed, everything's different. We're an adult now, we're in an adult's body, we don't have to attach in that kind of, that it's life or death. We don't have to have that as an adult, but we do as a child. So yeah, those beliefs may no longer work as well, they don't function as well, but that doesn't mean they're wrong and they're bad. And so how is it to really turn towards that part of ourselves? Like, how would it be if we just saw healing in a very different way to how we see it now, which is, there is this issue, it's wrong, I need to get rid of it. I need to cut it out of myself. And what happens when we start to be like, gosh, something is showing up in my life, something's really wanting to be here, something's really wanting to be heard, some new material is coming to the surface, and not make that wrong or bad or pathologize it. And I get that that's really hard in a society that is mainly sort of set up to hold that idea as well, that somehow it's wrong, it's not okay. It's like, even today I read somewhere about a famous yoga instructor who was actually revealing how she was starting to experience panic. And it was a bit of a shock for many people. It's like, what? You're like this amazing yoga teacher, you've been going for years, like how could that happen? And I think we would see it differently if we understood emotions and issues differently. So, for instance, sometimes, often panic, anxiety, or whatever the emotion or experience, it's not always an emotion. Like, panic is more like a sensation, and underneath is the emotion that we've suppressed. And often it comes when we actually feel safe enough. Right? And it often comes later on in life. So it may be that the experiences we had as a child seemed okay, or maybe not okay, and then in our 20s, 30s we're fine. For some people it's not that way, and then there'll suddenly be this point in our life where this material starts to surface. And if we were to see it differently, we'd just be like, okay, there's something new here, there's some new material, new energy that wants to be felt. It doesn't mean I'm less than, there's a problem with me, I'm wrong, I'm broken. It's, wow, I'm now ready to really dive into what is here when I'm ready. Maybe dive into is not the right word with panic, but it's like, to really turn towards gently when I'm ready to look at this, because some part of me actually is ready. How would it be if we were to just see these emotional parts or these sensations, these often really difficult feelings and sensations, as our path to becoming whole? And maybe that path is an endless path, in that, it's greater and greater parts of bringing in fragments from our ancestors, bringing in the fragments from our whole history, our culture. If we go back and back and back, there's so many fragments and parts to bring back to become whole again. And that's not just the difficult, uncomfortable parts. It can actually be the really beautiful, resilient, amazing parts that we're not able to let in as well. It's like letting all of that in, and as we do that, we're becoming more and more whole and more connected with each other. And it's as a society, we all have this. Each one of us brings something, and if we're willing to really start to do that work with curiosity and okay, this is my path, then it's such a service that we're offering to ourselves, to our ancestors, to the future, for the planet. We're kind of coming back together. It's like we're remembering that we are not the separate single being that is not enough. We are starting to remember that we are whole, and we are connected, and we are a greater part of each other and the planet. It's massive. But it starts with knowing that whatever's coming up is not wrong. It's not something to be got rid of. And that doesn't mean, therefore, we have to stay with it and live with this thing forever. I'm not saying that either. The irony is, when we're able to turn to these parts of ourselves with a bit more love, with compassion, with curiosity, we're willing to maybe stay with that really, really uncomfortable sensation or feeling, it naturally changes. It naturally changes. And it's just, really just, it's like, I guess, a form of practice of really taking gentle steps to meet that and know, oh my gosh, I enjoyed it, I could handle it, it was okay. And that sort of builds to it gets easier and easier. And it's not like in a line, by the way, it's not kind of lineal, it's kind of but yeah, anyway, I was just love that idea of what if the fastest way to healing is to be the best friend of pieces of ourselves we feel we don't like or we have disowned? What if we can find those parts and start to own them again and gently bring them back to ourselves and help them know there's a place here? Yeah. Thank you for listening.